So it is my pleasure to introduce a good friend to this community. Um, Roberto Corona Torres, well, I call him doctor because in this country, psychologists are not called doctors per se. They can be called maestros because they have a master's degree. But since I do come from the USA, I do call him Dr. Roberto Corona. He sits on the advisory board for Patronato Pro Niños as a clinical psychologist and family and couples therapist. He's also an art therapist. He's trained on solution-focused brief therapy. He was born in Mexico City and has resided in San Miguel de Allende since 2012. His fields of interest include family and couples search for wellness, and I love that term. He works with bicultural families, human rights, sexuality and sexual diversity, resilience and creativity. And what a wonderful theme he has for us today. He is here to help us learn. Have we learned anything from this pandemic? Are we coming out stronger, wiser, and more resilient? So please help me give a midday Rotary Club welcome to Roberto Corona.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Nori. Beautiful presentation. The subject I want to talk about, as Nori pointed out, will not be addressed directly to the C word, which is the main topic everywhere. I will talk about what have we learned of this very important event in the world. I've attended too many courses and conferences and chats about the pandemic and how to get along with this, how to deal with crisis and everything. Curiously, in my practice, I do private practice in San Miguel here, online, and some physical ones here already. I haven't had enough questions about how to deal with this. I found, and I find this very hopeful, that couples and individuals who I work with have gone through all their problems in spite of this situation. The situation didn't become the problem. They dealt with the problem in very different ways. And they are addressing either the problems that they had before the situation or the ones that they are having now. What I found is most people have an enormous tool to get us along, which is resilience, and that's why I want to talk about here. The title of this short talk is exactly what have we learned. Do you see the presentation now? Okay, and I'll ask Ronald to move it. That's what I understand, right? Okay, thank you. So what have we learned? And I will ask all of you to give me some feedback on this. What has become a positive out of this challenge, worldwide challenge? Are we coming stronger, wiser, more resilient? Did we use the tools that we grow up with, or do we find that we need to improve those tools? Could we move on to the next one, please? Thank you. Okay, I'm sure that you all know the meaning of resilience, but I'll just point it out very quickly. In very short words, it's the capacity to recover from difficulties. I slash the quickly because not everyone can recover that fast as they want. They need a process. It's like the process of losing somebody that we care. The mourning process. And there are 8 basic steps, and this comes from leadership courses and from my own field. The first step is to accept that things are changing, to acknowledge that things are not going to be as they were before. You're familiar also with this term of area of comfort. That's what we aim for in all fields of our life. We want to be comfortable with a situation, with a person in a specific place. And we hate when it's changed by some reason. But the little trick of the areas of comfort, the disadvantage is that we become accustomed. And therefore we become kind of paralyzed in some aspects. This situation, even if we are physically and socially partly paralyzed, has demanded us to move on in different paths. From the single, I need to learn how to cook, to I need how to do the house chores, and to more complex ones. How do I make money for my family? Once we accept that we need to change and we need to get out of that comfort zone, then we are starting to learn something. And this is what everybody recommends, every specialist on health and well-being recommends. You should never allow yourself to stop learning. You should always demand yourself to start learning anything that comes along. I found that on the, probably that on the education field, many courses have opened online, even from universities. These websites that offer you online education, Coursera and Khan Academy, have raised their standards and have raised their offer and also have lowered their prices. Some of the courses are even for free. So there's always the chance to find something interesting to learn about. When we are secluded in our homes, and those people who have relatives, family, there's also the opportunity to learn more about the person we're used to live with. Sometimes the excessive activity of our everyday lives moves us away from that learning opportunity. We forget about who is that significant one next to us, our children, our grandchildren. And this has been an opportunity to learn what's going on in their minds, what are their expectations, what are their frustrations, to know ourselves as persons. Even if for some people, including me, these Zoom and all these devices that have developed are not quite comfortable. But they give us the opportunity to reconnect with people in several ways. People who we haven't seen in ages. And we find out and we learn that they're going through different times and they're, adjusting to the situation in different ways. The next step is take charge, which means that you have to, and I will put an exercise here to all of you. If you have a piece of paper, then if not, you can do it later. Grab a piece of paper, any kind, and this is very simple. And then you mark the outline of your hand in this piece of paper with a marker or anything. Once it's there, you start thinking about what are the things that you can control and what are the things that you cannot control. And then you write the things that are out of your control and the things that you are in control of inside. And then you pick one, the easiest one. And then take charge and take action on those. and forget about the others. One of my first suggestions to my clients when they are in situations of anxiety is that they should stop being connected to the news, to Twitter especially, to CNN, whatever. They can watch for, a few minutes, just a small dose, but never get stuck with that. And even worse, if you do it at night before sleep time. Reduce your dose of news and media and connection of the world and the things that you cannot control at this moment, and focus on what you can control. Define a purpose. That's the next step. There's a purpose for everything. We should find a purpose for our everyday lives, even if it's a simple one. I'll go a little faster here. Create balance in your life. Create times for sleep, for fun, for work, for information, for the news, and for a time for yourself, self-nourishment. Sometimes we overlook those times where we are allowed to do absolutely nothing, to contemplate, as the Buddhists and the monks do. It can take us 5 minutes just to stop doing anything, but just to observe where we are at, without judgment. It's wonderful when you can do it for 5 or 10 minutes. And if you can do it for half an hour, that's even better. Cultivate relationships. I went through that. We reconnected with friends, even if we can't see them, but they have to be significant ones. They have to have a purpose, and you have to send a message, a positive message. We can share what we are going through, our troubles, our worries, and everything, but it's not a very good idea to overload people who are going through difficult times as well. We should focus on sharing and focusing on the good parts, even if they are small, and share them and celebrate them. Reflect. This is an exercise that can be done in these times of contemplation. Reflect on yourself, on what you are doing, on what you are, not what you are only doing, not what you're only achieving or not achieving, but where you are standing as an individual, as a person, and recognize that. And as I pointed out in the first slide, reframe your skills. Did I learn something new? Do I need to learn something new now? Am I growing better in some aspects? Do I need to learn more? Those are very basic steps. Can we move on to the other slide, please? Okay, find meaning. I'm sure you remember, you heard about Viktor Frankl, the man in search for meaning. For those of you who are not familiar, Viktor Frankl was a psychiatrist, an Austrian psychiatrist working in Vienna. He spent several years in a concentration camp. He lost his family, many of his friends, and in one particular time, he was very sick. He was coming from the mines where they had to work, and he had a high fever, and he stumbled and fainted. And the soldier came and pointed out the rifle at him and says, you stand up, or here, this is the end of you. You die here, I'll shoot you. And from what he could hear, he, on his crisis, he viewed himself offering a conference of what he went through in this time. And he says, that's what I have to do. So he stood up, and that's what took him through these difficult times. He developed logotherapy, which is a particular field of psychotherapy. And he has written wonderful books about it. The main one, the most known one, is Man in Search for Meaning. And he points out in very short words that If you're going through difficult times, you don't need to ask yourself, why is this happening to me? Why me? You should ask yourself, what is this learning? What is this teaching me to do something different? What do I have to learn from this? What is the learning experience? And this is very, very accurate in these times for all of us. Next, please. Okay. I suggest you to resignify your experience, and I will ask you to do a little exercise here. Instead of speaking about confinement, lockdown, isolation, or whatever words you used to use for this, how would you positively reframe or rephrase or rename this experience? Does anyone have an idea right now? I got a beautiful, oh, I got a beautiful term for that from a friend of mine. He said, creative retirement. He found out that he could reconnect with his creativity. He's not an artist, but he found very creative ways to get along during the days and to find money. And so he says, wow, I'm learning so much from this that I found myself a very creative person. I have, give me just a second, there's the chat here. Oh, no, okay. And thank you. Oh, thank you.
Don't worry.
Kisses, besos a Sherry Feldstein.
Yes, don't worry. I'm going to help you manage the chat at the end.
Thank you very much. Yes. Okay, so if you don't have a term right now where you can just switch this term of confinement and use it, not only now, but on your everyday life, and share it with your friends. Does that sound like a good idea? I think it is, right? I would talk for hours about resignifying experience. I use in part of my tools is narrative therapy, which helps you to resignify events in your life. We have this tendency, and it's a brain function. We remember events in our lives, even traumatic events, and we tell them and retell them, and we add a little bit of negative things. One of the aspects of the human, not only brain, but human as a social entity, this has been studied in social psychology, is the negativity bias. Negativity bias. We tend to look at the negative and to give negative aspects more weight in our everyday life than to the positive ones. We fear to be called optimists because therefore we are superficial, but that's not the point. We need to look at positive things because our nature sends us automatically to the other side of the spectrum, which is the negativity. So we need to go back to our experiences, going back to narrative therapy. When we write a particular time of our chapter of our story, we rewrite it with a different point of view. And this will release many of these situations from the traumatic charge that we have carried along our lives. So again, this is a subject that I could talk about for hours, but I don't think we have much time. Yes, we can move on. Thank you, Ronald. We went through this. Okay, Nori pointed out that my field is solution-focused brief therapy. I work with my clients on setting up goals, very specific goals. We look at the problem, but we don't focus on that. We focus on the solution and on the path to reach that. That's what I've been doing in several situations for the past 10 years. And not only for my clients, but for myself. This is a very good exercise for my own personal life. So if you have any questions, these are my contacts. And thank you very much for your attention and your invitation.
Well, Roberto, I see a few comments, a few general comments. Of course, I think that this group happens to be a pretty healthy-minded and happy group, as happens many times when we give a presentation and we're talking about a particular subject. Those that should be there that day missed the class. It happened to me last week. I gave a session on something that I thought was quite important for my staff. And the one individual that the class was particularly for couldn't come to work that day, but oh well. So this group here is a jolly group. Ivar mentions that he's calling this his fourth life, which is wonderful because I think he's probably more like on his ninth life, which is wonderful. And he has a lot of life lessons for most of us. And I know that to be true. Melody also mentions that she's calling this a chance to get to know herself, which is really wonderful. I myself, wow, when I saw myself at home for hours, even though I was sitting and working, I was like, wow, look, I actually have a garden that I never get to see in the daylight. I'm gonna go out there and actually pull some weeds, right? But one real question that I have, and that maybe you can help us with, is how can those of us that tend to be particularly positive help those that tend to be a little bit more negative, and how can we help them in a way that we don't come off as too loony? You know, I don't want to come off to somebody, you know, I saw somebody the other day and I said, hey, how are you? I was just being happy and I wanted to give them a smile. So I took my mask off like just halfway and I said, hey, because you know, with the mask, they can't see you. The person jumped back literally out of their skin. I wasn't going to hug them or anything like that. And I said, oh, no, I didn't mean to scare you. I just wanted to, you know, show you my love. And how do we, you know, how do we do that? How do we cross that bridge and make people feel like you can still be happy? And I don't want to come off like I'm never sad, because I do have moments of sadness. But how do we do that? How do we do that?
Okay, one of the phrases that I always ask to avoid with somebody who's going through difficult times, and this is in Spanish, and I'm sure that probably you know, many of you know about it. When you meet somebody who's going through a difficult time, people tend to say, échale ganas. I don't know how to translate.
Give it all you got. Give it all you got.
Give it all you got.
Give it all you got. Come on.
And they say, I don't have anything. Where do I get it? Where do you shop for that? Amazon or where?
Where do you get it?
Where do you get it? Where do you get the ganas?
Yeah.
But in these moments, the best tool is to listen empathically, to use empathy. And not to, instead of boosting what you're, okay, oh no, I feel great. You say, I've been through those times. Sometimes I have these feelings, but I try hard, and it's not easy to put myself in a better mood. If you want to know about my tools, I can share them with you whenever you want. We can talk about this. Just set up like, if you need me to help you, I'm here for you. Of course, sharing
No, that's a
Yes,
great point. And empathy is you know a good tool, obviously. And many times, yes, you're right. People don't know that just because you're wearing a smile, you are also a human being. You've also got situations going on, and
yes,
they're unaware. They're just unaware
yes.
that.
People is oversensitive in these moments. I find
Yes.
a little bit that people has kind of adjusted a little bit. And sometimes
Mhm,
we get tired of all these precautions, which
mhm,
is a kind of dangerous.
mhm,
But people are overreactive sometimes, and
mhm,
we need to respect that. But uh, the best tool again is to not to immediately offer advice.
sure.
Is to say, yes, I've been through there. If you want to know, we can talk later about how you feel or how I felt. I hope you feel better. That would be the best solution in that particular moment.
And what would you say is the number one issue that you've encountered from clients, especially during this time that we're living? Because I know that here at Patronato, we were just asked to do a video, which our psychologist did a fantastic job. We were asked to do a video to help the community deal with the rise in suicide attempts and in
Mhm,
actual suicides.
mhm.
Many families are dealing with the issue of mental health right now. So what have you seen as a major issue right now?
Okay, the very main topic that families complain about is the stress related to education, online classes.
Mm-hmm.
How do I deal with this? All the noise and the discomfort. And many families, for example, they have 2 or 3 kids and just one computer. And some of them have to share their cell phones and they run out of credit, and there's too much noise, and parents need to work, and they need to clean in the house. That's an enormous stress.
Mm-hmm.
Some families have given up, and I say just deal with the very basic subjects and forget about the rest. That's number one. Number two is the teenage population. Those are kids who are really really anxious because they cannot do what they're supposed to do at this stage of life. 14, 16, 18, they cannot socialize, they cannot connect to others even physically. uh, I've been lucky to meet responsible kids, very responsible kids who are locked down and they cannot connect. Well, you know, Zoom or their apps are not enough. They want to go party, they want to go out, they want to go biking and everything. I suggest that they do it very cautiously. But what worries me is not only teenagers, but young adults who are gathering without any precaution, and they say, "Oh, this is not," you know, these negationists. Nothing's happening, and we go there, and there's many parties, many people getting together, even families, and they don't consider that they have people at major risk in their families, and they can bring along the virus.
Sure.
That's my
I
main
think
worry.
one of the things that we, you know, most of us here on this call are foreigners to here. And one of the things that I think we forget as a foreigner community is that some of the benefits that we enjoy every day are not something that everyone in our communities can enjoy. You know, the fact that we can go on any, you know, online you know, program or you know, enjoy unlimited internet services throughout the day is not something that most of these families can enjoy.
Mhm.
So even socializing virtually for these young people is not something that they can do because the family does not have an unlimited program to be able to do that. So one other good point that one of the questions has come up is, what about domestic violence? What are you seeing along those lines? And what can you speak to about that?
We part of a citizens group that I work with recently. We were worried about this, the domestic violence, because of and that just grow terribly worldwide. But I took a little safari along communities and over there that was in the end of March and April. And I found out that the communities here, I went to Alcocer, I went to Jalpa and several communities along there. Mm-hmm. People is just very cool about it. They gather for their cerveza on Sundays, they go play football, families are getting together, nobody's wearing a face mask, nothing's happening there. Which I'm sure it will, there will be a risk of increasing the cases there. Mm-hmm. But people are not as secluded as, I would say, New York or Mexico City or Guadalajara. And that, I think that has kept the numbers, low right. Here in San Miguel, at least in San Miguel. Mm-hmm. Although there have been reports, it hasn't raised as much as in other cities. Mm-hmm. I think I didn't do a further research, but I think that it's still a small city. People still have a little bit of space where even if they are, they live in a small house, they have, the campo 5 or 10 blocks away from their houses. They can escape to an open space. I think that has helped a lot. The cases, I have families who are violent. I didn't see any particular situations because of this situation.
Mm-hmm. I know the city is doing some work.
They learned how to cope mm-hmm. in the worst times of the seclusion.
Mm-hmm. Interesting.
But, this is not a significant population that I work with. I have 40, 50 clients from all sorts. Mm-hmm. But I was worried about that, just as you, about domestic violence, and I didn't see that. I think that they have tools for resiliency here in San Miguel.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, I think the culture helps a lot, right? The culture of échale ganas, give it all you got. That certainly helps a lot. And we do see a little bit of that here. I've also been pretty fascinated with the fact that, even the little children are, wearing their little masks and they're not particularly complaining. No. Whereas I have had to travel to the US and boy, to get a little American child to wear a mask is not an easy task. So that has been interesting as well, culturally. I'm putting out to the group. Does anyone else have any other questions or yes, Gary?
You have caused me to reflect on my past learnings. Oh. And particularly number 3, take control. I see that as also taking responsibility.
Yes.
And reflecting. And I've learned in my background that if we focus on the past, it's usually regret. Exactly. We regret things that we didn't do or did do. If we're worried about the future, that's fear. Mm-hmm. And so you have to live in the moment. And there is a song called One Moment in Time by Whitney Houston. It was made famous by Dana Winner on YouTube, and I highly recommend it. And here is part of the lyrics. I want one moment in time when I'm more than I thought I could be. When all of my dreams are a heartbeat away and the answers are all up to me. Give me one moment in time when I'm racing with destiny. Then in that one moment of time, I will feel eternity. Give me one moment of time when I'm more than I thought I could be, when all my dreams are a heartbeat away and the answers are all up to me. Then in that one moment of time, I will feel eternity.
Wow, no one could have said it any better.
Thank you.
Thank you, Gary.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you.
I think you ought to sing it.
Right, I think so. I think our DJ has to put that on the playlist for the social on the 16th of September.
And it's Dana Winner, W-I-N-N-E-R, and
Wow.
it's on YouTube, and it will blow you away
Fantastic,
because
fantastic.
it is about us.
Thank you
Well,
very much.
Roberto. Thank you for all the wonderful tips. All of us here are charged, as I tell people, when they come to one of our events, and this is my magic wand, we are all ambassadors for the rest of the day, the week, the month, the year, to share all of this good knowledge that we are reminded of today, and for some of us that we learned for the first time today. We are charged with sharing that with folks that need it, okay? So that we can make other people more aware of how they can survive this, and this too shall pass, right?
Yes.
So thank you, Roberto. Thank you so much.
Thank
Gary?
you.
Yeah, thank you,
Muchas
Gary.
gracias.
And
Thank you, everyone. Ibar.
thank you,
So
thank
good to
you.
see you, everyone.
Very
Skip,
good,
I leave it
Roberto.
in
We
your good
appreciate it.
hands.
Thanks
Thank
for
you.
inviting
And
me.
thanks for everything that you all do for the community in San Miguel.
Thank you.
Your,
Thank you.
my admiration to you. Bye.